I chose the Darkrock Pro 4 because it was the most cost-effective method for cooling my 9900KF. It has equal performance to much more expensive coolers such as 240 to 360 millimeter AIOs. And if you look at the ratings that it has amazing ratings, so I knew it was a good choice, so I went with it. I get about 30C idle. Now it's in a restricted case that has limited airflow, so those are pretty good numbers. And when gaming, it can get up to around 60C on average. That's with 50% CPU usage. So I would expect that you would probably get around 80 at full load under long conditions such as rendering a video or doing like a prime test. Now for the processor, I went with the 9900KF. Now the 9900KF doesn't have the integrated GPU, and that actually saved a lot of money because I was able to save $80 compared to the regular 9900K. Then I already had bought the motherboard for the Intel last year, and I ended up having to wait to get the CPU, and as a result I wasn't able to go with the new Ryzen, so this was the most cost-effective option. Now for the motherboard, I went with the Gigabyte Aorus Ultra. The reason I went with this board is it has great VRMs for the price point, much better than others, and even comparable to the more expensive motherboards in the $300 range. And of course, it's got nice aesthetics, and I really like Gigabyte as a brand. I really love their stuff. I love the designs they do, the aesthetics, and all that. Now for the RAM, I just went with the Corsair Vengeance, which is a very common RAM for people to buy. I went with two 16 gig sticks, so I can eventually upgrade to have 64 gigs in my board. And they just have a really great price to performance ratio. There's comparable RAMs such as the Trident Z RGB, and they're flashy, but the performance it's the same. And in addition, I went with 3200 megahertz because that speed is a really good price to performance at this time. So my choice of case was the H700i, and I chose this case because I previously owned a H440, and unfortunately, since I'm getting nicer components, they're a lot more thermal constrained, and so I needed a new case that had better airflow. And so I wanted to clarify, I actually do have some concerns about this case that I actually do not like. If you look here, all the LEDs, you can easily tell the individual ones, and that really, for me personally, takes away from the appearance. I would have liked to see them put some kind of bar to diffuse the light. I also wanted to clarify on my choice of CPU. The 9900KF actually doesn't lose any performance because of its removal of the iGPU. In fact, sometimes if you look at somewhere like user benchmark and things, it actually sometimes performs better. That's not really a guaranteed thing. They're technically the same chip, and it really comes down to silicon lottery at that point. But in general, they're the exact same chip, just minus some things. So our graphics card is the 5700 XT, the gigabyte version of it. And I would have had footage for this, except it came a day late. And at that point, we did record some footage, but we ended up losing it. And so I don't have footage of me putting it in the case or anything like that. But here it is, as you can see. And I've been very pleased. I've done through some tests, and I'll actually have benchmarks out later on, which will be released on my channel within probably the next few days or even the next week. And you'll be able to see the kind of performance I'm getting. But I've been very pleased with the card, and I would recommend anyone to get this card. And I chose this card, the 5700 XT, because it is so close in performance to the 2070 Super that I couldn't justify spending the extra $100 for the RTX. And overall, from what I've experienced, I've really enjoyed this build. It was a great build to put together. It was great to see it fire up for the first time, and I can't wait to put more builds together in the future. And anything I do in the future, I will put on the channel. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.